11th and the 12th of October 2017, and I've already uploaded the 11th of October before, but that was a lesson. This is the tech rehearsal, so lighting, sound and everything. We did do 2 warm-ups. They were the same warm-ups both days, jogging around the space, being careful of minding the set, being careful of the set, making sure we don't bump into anything. The typical warm-ups that I've mentioned before, which are vibrating our lips. I don't know the word for that yet still. It's not something I am good with. I will ask though. I should have asked. I believe Tim calls it humming with your mouth closed, but that's not necessarily what Nikki's version is. We used Justice both times, in character, walking around the room in character, spatial awareness, and we did Ma, me and Mo, projecting it to the back of the auditorium, the back of the theatre. We also did the meow slide. How could I forget the meow slide? We also played the fruits game and added passion fruit to the fruits, which was fun. The fruits game was always good. Both times we did the teapot song. We learnt the other half of the teapot song on the 11th. But what I want to get into is the prologue. Well, it isn't the prologue, sorry. What I want to get into is the lighting and the sound, which is what we did that day, well, those 2 days, the 11th and the 12th. We got up to Eastern Tales 6 on the 11th, but I believe that I can get the 12th in this video as well, or most of it anyway. So in the 11th of October, I've got it all written down here. It's quite detailed, well, it's quite a bit. So the house lights are on at the start as the audience coming. We're all sitting there, so the house lights are enough for them to see the stage and the setup. There were blue lights and the street lights behind us, or should I say the street lights. So it's blue. There's like these LEDs behind the projector, and the blue lights were, the LEDs were multicolored. So they chose blue, so because you could control the colour. What they've decided was beat from the car horn before. We also had a red stoplight, so it went from green to red to symbolise the start of the play. So I believe the stoplight went to red, beat from the car horn, and the house lights turned off when the audience is seated, and music turned off. I believe the song was R-A-V-E or something like that. I don't remember who by, but it wasn't just that song. It turned out on the night there was and on the matinee that there were quite a few more. Wasn't that one just playing over and over and over? I've already said the blue backlight. There were 5 spotlights on the taxis, and the street lamps were on. And they were on throughout. The street lights were on throughout. There were street sounds on throughout the prologue and the epilogue. The lighting for the prologue and the prologue's transition is the same for the epilogue. So that none of that was changed. So the lighting was 5 spotlights, 1 on each taxi, a low street soundtrack, and that is that for the prologue and the epilogue. East End Tales 2, the transition for that is a whitewash and Group A coming in and shouting for a taxi fighting each other for a taxi, etc. When the beep sounds, spotlight on both groups. And when beep sounds, everyone, well, they sit down, and there's a spotlight on both groups, and then Group B, should I say, the Group B spotlight dims down, so it's completely off, so Group A's is on, and when it comes to Group B's turn, the spotlight on Group B turns on and Group A's dims down. There's after and uphill is but when she wakes, we wait 3 seconds, red lighting comes on, so I'd say it was more of a red wash, and we stop on the beep and go back into our places for EastEndTales 3. The street lights are on full. They were always on full, so I don't know why I wrote that. There's blue wash. There's rain sound effects until the speech, and on the speech they turned it off. The spotlights on the blocks when they were all there. When all the people, well, there was a spotlight on the blocks the whole time. The blue wash was on the whole time as well. But what I mean by the spotlight on the blocks was it wasn't always on, but it was on the time when everyone was on the blocks in the centre. When all performers were on the raised platform, so I don't mean all of Group A and all of Group B, I mean all the performers in EastEndTales 3 were on the raised platform at the back. There was no spotlight in the centre, so that's what I was trying to say. Spotlights on blocks at the end, so when everyone sat down, there was a spotlight on the blocks, and the spotlight fades, and the rain sound effects, as I said, the blue light was on the whole time. I wrote the transition on a different page, because it's closer to EastEndTales 4. Transition for EastEndTales 4, we sorted the transitions out that day, except the first transition, because it was news to us, Group B, that Group A had a transition for the prologue without us knowing. So we had to watch and learn and go, okay, that's what we have to do. Yelling taxi for the the epilogue. The transition for EastEndTales 4 is a spotlight. Spotlight fades and we move from places. Regan will walk around groups of people talking, and we need to look at him, give him a dirty look and look away. He's the old lady in this bit. He has an umbrella as well. We go back to our places when Regan walks off of the raised platform, and the blue lighting was on during the transition. So what Regan did was he walked around all of us, and he walked up the stairs of the raised platform, stood in the middle, and then waited a few seconds before walking off. EastEndTales 4, there was a bright spotlight on Lily, Amy, Chanel, Julian and Ryan. Dim spotlight on Jada. But in the cafe part, a bright spotlight on the dim side of the stage, and bright spotlight on Julian, who is in front of Group B. So we were sitting on these blocks, these platforms, and he was standing right in front of us. So that was the lighting for EastEndTales 4. And transition for EastEndTales 5 was orange lighting. EastEndTales 4 cast goes up to the audience ordering drinks. Everyone who isn't in EastEndTales 5 acts drunk or in a pub, while EastEndTales 5 sets up. Bar sounds are on at this point, and they're on loud. Bell to signal Molly saying last orders, which is Archie to sit down. The lighting for EastEndTales 5 is spotlight on Molly, Becca and Reese, spotlight on Busey, spotlight on Owen and Jacob, and streetlights on the whole time. And then it goes to a whitewash for the transition for EastEndTales 5. The transition for EastEndTales 5 is, as I said, whitewash, supermarket music on loud. Everyone who isn't in Eastern Tales 6 acts like they're in the supermarket, so shopping and whatnot. Eastern Tales 6 cast only. This is what I've written down, so once everyone is in place, we say ka-ching loudly and do the action, of course. I mean, what would we be without our action? And everyone else goes back into the wings and the music goes quieter. We did change the lighting at one point and the sound. Well, technically at 2 points. So on What Did You Say? There's a red wash and the sound goes off. And it returns, the whitewash comes on Hooray, and the music returns at the same time as the whitewash. The transition for Eastern Tale 7 is trap music. I put trap with a question mark. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Go to front, act tough, Eastern Tale 7 setup, back to places at police siren. So basically, we don't just walk back to places, we run. We run back to places like, there's a policeman following us. We're dodgy people. We run and get back into places and try and hide from the police like this. And obviously that wouldn't work in real life, but it's theatre. It's theatre. What can the theatre do that everyday life can't? And that's a lot of things. In my personal opinion, like, you can do so much with theatre. Anyway, after we are back in places, we stay in character and acting dodgy. The spotlight is on the centre stage the whole time, and also the house lights are on. I forgot to write that down because I did not know this, but Aaron had come up. Well, I didn't notice at the time, but Aaron comes up a trap door, so the house lights are on, but on low. Not like really low, but like a mid-level. And Aaron comes down the stairs like that. So that is everything we did on the 11th of October and the 12th of October, because we learned that on the 12th of October we had to do our own yelling for taxis and going off when the beep sounds. But also, I forgot to say, for bowing, Rascal by Dizzee Rascal for music to bow to and a whitewash. That's pretty much all we've done. So that's a whitewash on stage, we bowed, and we bowed to Dizzee Rascal, and we went off. Some people were dancing, other people were walking with a bounce in their step. I felt awkward. Personally, I felt awkward, and that's something I need to improve on. What we needed to improve on that lesson was on those lessons was, again, lines. Just keep learning them, keep polishing things, and getting used to the lights and everything like that. We'd also got to learn about bowing and whatnot. Not just about bowing. Well, it means that we had to figure out how we were going to bow, because not everyone was holding hands. I found out later on not everyone was holding hands as we were bowing, because apparently Group A, I was going to say Eastern Tales A, because we were doing Eastern Tales, but Group A, apparently they didn't hold hands when they bowed. But we were very Group B, we were very RSC and walked out, held hands and bowed. So, yeah, we had to figure that out, and we do later on. And so we worked really well. The lighting got done quite quickly. So I'll see you in the next actors vlog. Bye.